Welcome to Hope Through the Hard, a curated coalition podcast where we talk honestly about life struggles and how to face them in healthy, hope-filled ways. In 2 Corinthians 4, Paul says, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." That's the purpose of this space. Real conversations about the hard things in life and the hope that carries us through. Visit curatedcoalition.com to find our coaching services and book a free consultation.
Hi, I'm Levi. This is Ashley, and we have Lincoln and Lyndon helping with production today. And Lyndon has the kid question.
So, would you rather get pizza or steak for the rest of your life? Like you couldn't eat anything else, like any dessert or anything. Just
Okay.
pizza and steak.
Is it a set type of pizza? Like you're getting this pizza and that's it?
No, I guess it can be like a different pizza.
You can get different options of pizza every
So
time?
I could have a steak pizza?
We tricked you on that one.
I'll take that.
You can
I'll
get
take
steak as a topping for that.
Right. I'll
Right.
take pizza.
Yeah, we'll take pizza because then you can get chicken pizza and
I could have barbecue
Vegetable.
pizza, or I could have cheese and crackers pizza, or I could
That
have
sounds gross, though.
Yeah, I think it's just crackers.
I could
for a
have
topping.
dessert pizza
ooh,
with
ouch.
chocolate
Okay, I-
sauce and marshmallows.
You're butchering it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch it to
Nah.
meat lovers only.
Oh, meat lovers. Well, that's not too bad either. That's not too bad.
I think we're going with pizza.
Yeah. But if you just said, hey, it's a cheese pizza or a steak, then I'd be steak all day. Right. Yeah, that's a good question. Great question, Lyndon.
Good job, chicken. Okay, so last week we talked about what a trigger is. This week we are going to talk about how our body responds. So the moment when something suddenly happens and your reaction becomes bigger than the situation, maybe you explode in anger. Maybe you shut down completely. Maybe you need to leave the room. Maybe you start trying to make everyone else happy so that the tension stops. When that happens, your body isn't trying to be dramatic. You're not trying to be dramatic. Your body is trying to protect you. So last week we talked about those triggers, and this week we're talking about each one of those 4 responses. Those moments when our nervous system reacts to something in the present that reminds us, whether we realize it or not, reminds us of something painful that happened in the past. So, and oftentimes we don't even know what the thing in the past that causes
Right.
the problem
Yeah.
really is.
Right. And today we're going to talk about the next steps, talking about how those triggers actually show up in our behaviors as well.
Yeah. So when we're triggered, our nervous system moves into one of 4 survival modes: fight,
Yep.
flight, fawn, and freeze. And so that was those 4 things that I explained earlier. Maybe you explode in anger. That's the fight response. Maybe you shut down completely. That's the freeze response. The need to leave the room is the flight response, or pleasing everyone, fawning over everyone else to make
Right.
it stop. That's the fawn response.
Yep. Those are some fun ones.
Yeah, well, I don't know that they're fun, but they are strategies that your
Correct.
body uses often without you even recognizing it. They're automatic ways that your body learns to keep you safe.
Correct.
So we're just going to jump right in. We're going to talk about the first one, which is the fight response. The fight response is probably the one that most people recognize because it's easy to see when it happens. The person might show up or it might show up in a person as anger or confrontation or being defensive or controlling. So your body often moves into a protection mode. So instead of withdrawing and pulling inward, you're pushing outward.
Yeah. So it's basically a person who reacts quickly in a strong manner and feels threatening.
Yeah, and it might look like you snap at someone during a conflict, or you raise your voice, or you argue intensely. Maybe you need to win the conversation or win the argument. Underneath all of the anger, there is usually either fear or hurt. So fight is your nervous system saying, I have to defend myself.
Yeah.
So,
and we want to take a look at biblical views as well. When did this happen in Bible times? Because we are all humans. We were humans back then. They didn't change any of these triggers that took place. And so for fight, Moses got angry and triggered and hit a rock because the people kept asking for more food, more water, and everything else. Peter, when Jesus started to get arrested, pulled out a sword and cut a guy's ear off. And it's a quick response to anger and showing, here I am to fight, and we're going to do this. And so some biblical views are there. So Scripture does show how people would react in the times that they were triggered too.
I don't think there's any bigger fight response than cutting someone's ear off. Like to win no, I'm going to win this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it's a protection. But that's something that's also seen of, it was a very stressful time spot. And that was his quick response was just pull a sword out, not talk, not have a conversation, not try to be a lawyer. But his quick response was, I'm going to pull a sword.
Well, and the example that you gave there with Moses, that resulted in him not getting to go into the promised land. It had a big consequence for him.
And understand, you get people asking you for something over and over. If you've had kids, sometimes it's easy to snap in those situations. So what do you think people misunderstand most about anger when it comes from a trigger response?
That it's coming from a trigger response. That it's based on something that happened in the past, and that it's not a reaction necessarily to the present moment. It's a reaction to something that they don't probably even understand themselves.
Right.
So I think for me, what do you think is the most misunderstood?
No, I think that's what you said. It comes from, I'm angry. Might not be at you, but I'm angry in the situation from this past, and that anytime I feel threatened, anger is what I use. And we're going to kind of walk through some of this, I think, some more, because I think that's why some people are just labeled quick on this one of, oh, you're just quick to anger. And
hot-headed.
Short temper, short fuse, everything else. Well, why? Because there's something that had happened that makes you just trigger this way and react this way into those situations.
Yeah. So the second one is the flight response. It is my trauma response. Flight response moves the opposite direction. Instead of confronting, the body says, I'm just going to get out of here. Flight shows up often as obviously withdrawal, like just leave the situation, leave the room, leave the confrontation, however you have to do that. Avoidance, distraction, which I think is a huge one that most people don't ever consider a flight response, and then leaving conversations or situations. But I know for most people, constant busyness, they don't think about that as a trauma response. That is the flight response. Yeah. Moving from one activity to the other and just like constantly distracting yourself from whatever is really bugging you. That's the flight response.
Yeah. So with that is probably a situation of, I just need space response that some people give in relationships. Maybe it's boyfriend, girlfriends, and I just need space, and really that they're triggered.
Yeah, for sure. And space isn't always bad, but when it's a trigger response, the urge to escape is very intensified. It's very strong. It's overwhelming. And someone who has the flight response is probably going to leave the room quickly, avoid difficult conversations, difficult people, difficult places, or they do that ADHD, over busy, totally distracted, overwork, constantly moving in order to not have to deal with whatever the problem is. Yeah. Because your body has for some reason decided that distance is safety.
Right. And biblically, we've seen some of this where some of the responses, disciples, whenever Jesus got arrested, took off. They left and ran away. Elijah did the same thing in the wilderness and was exhausted and overwhelmed and eventually collapsed under the broom tree. Mm-hmm. And so we see in even some of these experiences, the prophets even or we're exhausted to the point of, hey, this too much, I'm out, and run away, where you think, oh, they're always there and willing to fight at all points in time. So, and it's a big response. What is the difference between healthy space and avoidance when someone is in a flight response?
Well, I think that it's recognizing the difference. So sometimes someone might just want space, but if there has been a confrontation or a situation to set it off, then that's not healthy space.
Right.
That person is triggered, and I think that that's the biggest difference, is that when there's been a confrontation, that the person isn't looking necessarily for space. They're running away from the problem.
Right.
So I don't know. You deal with my flight response a lot. What do you think is the difference between?
Yeah, I think sometimes their safe space is good, because also where it could run into is some people may misdiagnose a flight of, I just need space, because really my trigger might be fight. And I know my trigger, and if I get to the point of I'm going to fight you, maybe I say, oh, I just need space. So it doesn't always necessarily mean just because they say those set words, oh, I need space. It's because they know that they're about to blow up or something's not going to happen right. So learn, as we all learn, as we all heal in those situations. But I see it as it's great to be able to know when your triggers are hitting, and if that is what you really do need is space, okay. But if you see, oh, I'm just avoiding all my problems, then that's not healthy.
Yeah. And if you would rather like reorganize the pantry instead of dealing with your problem, that's actually,
or just be on the phone.
Yeah.
Doom scroll.
Yeah, for sure. The third response is the fawn response. And I think that this is the one that most people don't even recognize.
Right.
It's a little more hard to see, I think, and much less well known than the other three. So it is obviously less commonly talked about, but it is extremely common to find in people. And the fawn response looks like mostly people pleasing or over accommodating, avoiding conflict by just agreeing with whatever the other person says or wants to do, prioritizing anyone else's needs above your own. Those are sort of what the fawn response boils down to.
Right. So instead of fighting or leaving, what they're trying to actually do is make everybody happy.
Exactly. Yeah. The nervous system thinks that safety comes through people's approval. And I think maybe this would be people who really have a tendency to look for the approval of man. People in a fawn response probably over apologize.
Right.
They very often are going to say yes to things when they mean no. And they feel responsible for everyone else's emotions. Some of these people might be empathetic, like what we would call an empath. Their internal belief is, I'll be happy if everyone else is happy. I'm safe if everyone else is happy. If everything else is good, then I'm okay.
Yeah.
So,
and biblical stories of seeing those responses. I think you found a great one with Sarah. As Abraham and Sarah weren't able to have kids, so Sarah's like, "Hey, Abraham."
Well, they had been promised kids.
Promised
Yeah.
as many kids as the stars in the sky, and she's like, "I can't get pregnant," and so it's like, "Here's this lady over here, go have a baby with her, and then maybe we'll have a kid," and I'm willing to give up everything for that situation,
For the approval of her husband.
right?
Yeah.
And I think also God too, a little bit of just saying, "Hey, I'm happy to do whatever."
And that created a whole mess. I mean, right? Like
for the generations,
right? With
centuries later.
Yeah, for Hagar and for Ishmael. And I mean, essentially Ishmael grows up without the inheritance and without a blessing and without the love of his father in a lot of regards.
Yeah.
Even though Abraham desired that, that's not, he was so outside of God's plan that, I mean, that was a huge impact for Hagar and Ishmael.
Right.
And so that fawn response didn't work out so good.
No. Why do you think so many people struggle to recognize the fawn response in themselves even?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think that probably because they have been people pleasing for so long that they don't even recognize that they have their own wants, desires, and needs.
Right.
I think my clients who are fawn responses, people pleasers, don't even see it. Like they don't have any idea because everyone else is happy, and so no one is calling them out on anything.
Right. Yeah.
So
well, and I think I've seen a lot of that in especially ministers in the church, where everybody's just trying to make everybody happy, so we don't have to have any drama or any problems.
Yeah.
And so that's sometimes a trigger response. So I'm just going to make you happy. And what
which
can I
really
do?
only creates more problems.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the last one is the freeze response. The freeze response is when the nervous system becomes overwhelmed and you just completely shut down. So it might look like numbness, mental fog, an inability to respond, or emotional shutdown. So instead of fighting or leaving or people pleasing, your body just shuts down completely.
Yeah. So this is one person who maybe often describes as I just went blank.
Yeah. Yeah. Their nervous system essentially just says, this is too much, and hits the giant pause button. And so people experiencing freeze might struggle to speak. They might feel completely disconnected from the moment, the experience, wherever they are, or they feel stuck and completely powerless.
Yeah. And I think this is one where talk about Jesus a little bit, and we keep talking about him being arrested and everything else, one of the most stressful things that there is. And I think Jesus was in that of, I feel powerless. I know this is coming and there's nothing I can do. And he just prays to God and just stops. I think is one way of looking at what some, I don't know, other biblical views. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that that's probably an interesting one. Maybe I sort of see a freeze response with David after Bathsheba. After their son died, before they had Solomon, they lost the son or the child that was the product of their first counter.
Right.
And you see him kind of just shut down. They try to bring him food and he won't take food. Right. And so that's sort of one that I think of when I think of a complete shutdown.
Yeah, a freeze. Mm-hmm. What do you think people need most when they find themselves shutting down like this?
I think probably someone to just be present with them. Somatic therapy. I mean, really, like that, someone to sit with them and to bring them back into themselves. Some of those tools that we talked about when we talked about somatic therapy, the 5-4-3-2-1 method, running your hand underwater, like those are really good tools, I think, probably to bring you out of that total shutdown.
Yeah. I think that's great because part of it's just breaking the cycle of going blank or trying to feel numb and start to feel again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the most important thing to understand when we think about why in the world is my body reacting like this, maybe you've kind of heard something that makes you think, oh, maybe I'm a fawn, or maybe I tend to shut down. One thing, the most important thing really to remember is that your nervous system is doing its job. Your body isn't broken. You haven't done something wrong. Your body is designed to help you survive. So fight, flight, fawn, and freeze are strategies that whichever one most people gravitate more toward one, they might have a secondary. But these are strategies that your brain learned when something was unsafe, often in childhood, and many of them developed in moments when you didn't have the power or the resources or the tools to respond any differently.
Right.
So I want you to maybe think about explaining kind of what happens when a child is in a moment when something is happening around them that they can't understand. Because we build these building blocks of our responses between the ages of 0 and 12 before we really have an ability to conceptualize the truth about what's going on. So can you take just a minute and talk about like what happens in our minds and in our body, specifically in our mind when something traumatic happens in that age range.
Yeah. So some of that we kind of make out a story with what we're doing, and then it replays. And we kind of manipulate some of it in how we are able to process. As a young child, you only understand so much. And then that becomes some belief. Okay, I see this happening, so therefore this is how we're supposed to act. And then with that, here's my responses. Why do sometimes parents and kids have the same trigger responses? Sometimes that's what you learn with those responses. And we just kind of learn some different things with the situations that happen in our life, good or bad, or just life, right? And then this is how I'm supposed to react, or this is how I feel. And whenever we get into those situations where it doesn't feel safe, or I'm kind of scared, that's when the triggers of how we're really believing and how we're supposed to react continues to grow later on in our future adult life as well, and responding to situations that may make us feel that way as a little kid.
Yeah. I think that that's really important because, whether something was actually traumatic or not,
Right.
If you don't understand what's going on around you, but you've built these ideas, these systems of beliefs about people and about places and about things that you will carry on throughout your life.
Yeah. Well, even kids watching movies, and we see things on movies and they don't understand the full concept of the whole story. Maybe they just caught a clip and was watching a story and just caught part of it and is like, oh, that's scary, and we don't watch it again, but that's burnt into my head. And then it's like, this scares me. So it could be just a situation. It wasn't even real life. It was just something I saw on TV.
Yeah. So I think it's important for us to remember that our body is just doing its best.
Correct.
Yeah. Like it's just doing the best because we've built these beliefs based on things that were happening before we were able to explain what they were.
Right. Because these reactions are not moral failures. It's not that. It's just a reaction of what we've kind of grown up believing of how to protect ourselves.
Exactly. They are protective patterns, I think, more than anything else. They helped us survive in the past, but a lot of times they create problems in the present, which we've kind of talked about in some of those biblical. Moses' anger kept him out of the wilderness. The disciples running away kept them away from, being a part of Jesus's last hours on earth and being able to be with him.
Right.
So, Hagar's fawn response created this giant issue that's lasted for centuries. Yeah. And so we have to learn when those patterns and when those strategies are no longer helpful and are no longer beneficial, and we have to do something different.
Yeah, because God's constantly showing us that God meets people in their distress, in their time of failure, their time of trying to figure everything out. He is there. He is involved. And the Bible is full of people in their experiences of fear, anger, grief as well, and feeling overwhelmed. The Bible is full of stories of it. So if you're looking for examples, it's in the Bible because God cares about us and wants to have a relationship with us. He wants to say, hey, here's all the examples of what's taking place. I'm here with you. And God invites us to grow with him in our relationship. So learning to slow down is good, to kind of learn and listen to him, learning to bring our emotions to him, share that with him and not just curse him. Because sometimes maybe that's where we're at. But share some of that raw feelings of what we have and learning how to respond with wisdom in our reactions and just praying to him of give me wisdom of how I can respond. Show me how the best way is to move forward. Maybe it's healing. Maybe it's just taking a breath before you get angry or whatever it might be of your trigger.
Well, and I think for a lot of people, it might even go back to having regular Sabbath principles. And like there's a lot of things that we've talked about that are great tools when you're triggered. The somatic therapy, like a regular Sabbath ritual, eating healthy food, all of these things are helpful. So what do we do when we start to notice these responses happening? That's the big question. Like, okay, you've shined a spotlight on it. Like, what do I do? And we kind of highlighted this the last episode, but I think since we've talked about it a little more, let's highlight them one more time. The first thing is you have to notice your pattern. You've got to figure out which one of those four are you. Do you fight? Do you flee? Do you fawn? Do you freeze? Do you feel the need to, people please? Do you feel the need to shut down? Do you find yourself busy and distracted all the time? Are you constantly snapping? You have to identify which one of the four you lean toward the most heavily.
Yeah. Next one is name the response. So whenever you feel activated of that trigger about to come on, ask yourself, what's my body moving towards? Am I running away? Am I pushing forward? Am I just trying to please people? What is it? And then name it. Oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm about to fight. I'm triggered in this situation, or I'm just trying to people please, and I don't need to people please this person at all. I'm just trying to make them happy, and they're actually being jerks.
Yeah. The third thing is to pause. Take a breath, find a place where you can get away from whatever is triggering you, if you can. That way you will have time to think about your reaction.
Right. Yeah. And respond with compassion and intention. Remember, the triggers are not proof that you're failing. That this is just information that has helped your nervous system to learn how you can change and respond and handle in a positive way, and have compassion, because compassion creates space where response can grow.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And I think it's important to have compassion for the people around you when you start to recognize that someone else is triggered. Having compassion for them is helpful too.
Yeah, exactly. So some questions kind of keep asking. What trigger responses do you recognize in yourself? We would love to know. Comment, let us know what situations tend to activate your response. When is those situations? Maybe it's holidays and family situations or work. What might your nervous system have learned from your past experience? I think that one would take a little bit of time to dive into.
And there's, I will say that's where our coaching kind of, that's probably where we're going to start for most people in coaching is, okay, so this was a big thing. It doesn't really sound like a big thing.
Right.
What is what is actually causing the big thing?
Right.
Because it's probably not whatever the present circumstance is.
Right.
All right. So just remember, healing is not about eliminating every trigger. Probably not going to happen.
Right.
We still get triggered. Our family still gets triggered. Every single person. So it's about learning to respond differently whenever you feel those things. I think you said the word activating, like you can feel your body shift and you can feel things change. It's learning to respond differently. Your body learned these things slowly over time. And so it's going to take your body time to unlearn them. And that's got to happen with, first of all, awareness, and then compassion, and then practice. It's going to take time to learn new methods.
Right. Yeah, and if today's episode helped you, then share this, because there's other people that are out there, and maybe you know somebody as well. Share it directly with them just so they can help understand their triggers and then to be able to control them and keep moving on. And remember, awareness leads to healing, and healing is possible for all of us.
Yeah. So please like, subscribe, and share our podcast. If you are interested in starting coaching, you can find our coaching services at curatedcoalition.com. Thanks for joining us for today's conversation. My hope is that you leave here reminded that whatever you're facing, you're not crushed, abandoned, or destroyed. That's the promise of 2 Corinthians 4:8-9 and the heartbeat of hope through the hard. Visit curatedcoalition.com for all of our coaching services or to book your free consultation. We'll see you next time.